Howdy, my name is Ben, and we're a bookish bear, and I hope you're doing okay. So for this vid, I'm going to talk about Booker 2022. So I am not great at keeping up with current releases book-wise, and I don't really seek them out. I'm not one of those people who is always looking at what's coming out in the next year and looking forward to stuff. Like, I just don't really keep up with it. I try to, but it doesn't usually happen. So, and the Booker Prize is coming up starting in July, and the prize last year is sort of what got me back into the bookish community and got me excited about talking with other people and finding a group of people on Katie Reed's, who is the official Booker boy or the unofficial Booker boy. He's one of those, and he has a Discord where everyone gets really into it and talks about all the different books, and everyone tries to read all the long list. And I got involved with that last year, and it was a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to it this year. And a lot of people are doing prediction videos about what they think will make the long list. So if you don't know how the Booker works, it's a literary prize. There are 5 judges. On July 26th, the long list will be announced, which is 12 to 13 books. And then on September 6th, the short list will be announced, and one of those 6 will win the prize. So a lot of people are doing predictions about what's going to make the long list. I don't feel in touch enough with the books that have been released this year to do that, but I did watch a bunch of videos about predictions and look through a bunch of lists on Goodreads and on the internet of eligible books that might have been submitted for the prize. And from that list, of course, found a bunch of books to add to my TBR. So I'm going to talk about those books. The books that are eligible, I believe, came out. I don't know what the exact timeline is for books that are eligible, but I'll add it here, and that's what it is. So all of these books are apparently eligible, and I'm going to talk about those. And as we go through, there are 17 books I'm going to talk about, so hopefully I'll get through it quickly. But as we go through them, I will try to say if I think it will be long listed or not, and maybe come up with the list at the end of predictions. Okay, so the first book on this list is one that I actually went and purchased, which doesn't happen a lot with new books because I'm not a fan of hardcovers. I don't like them. I don't like to read them, so I usually just skip it and wait for a paperback or get an ebook. But this one I've heard a lot of people talk about on BookTube and read about it, and it sounds super interesting. It's called Trust by Hernan Diaz. You have probably heard about it by now. Basically, it's a story told about a married couple who live in New York and are wealthy and become wealthier during the Depression. It apparently is a lot about like money, and all the content doesn't sound like anything that I'm interested in reading, but it's told in 4 different styles and 4 different quote-unquote books. The first being a novel called Bonds by a fictional person, and then the second one is an autobiography, and then a memoir, and the 4th one I think is supposed to be a secret, but I read about it and know what it is. But it sounds super interesting the way the story is told, and apparently as you read through the 4 different sections, you learn more about the couple and more about what's going on, and you can use each one to decipher what is true about the other ones, and that sounds really interesting. I'm very interested in experimental fiction, and this sounds like that. So I'm excited to read this, and we'll probably read it soon. The next 2 books I'm going to talk about are books that I have ordered and are on the way to my house from Blackwell's in the UK. So hopefully I will get them soon. Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies by Maddie Mortimer. And this I also ordered in hardcover because I didn't like the paperback and wasn't sure if the paperback was out yet. So I have to deal with that. But it sounds super interesting. It's about a woman who I believe is dealing with a cancer diagnosis, and it's told from the perspective of the cancer that's roaming and going through her body. It might just be her and her family dealing with the diagnosis. The description wasn't super clear, but it sounds amazing. And this one I do think will make the long list, just based on the description. it seems weird enough to make the list, but not too weird to not make the list, if that makes any sense. But I'm very excited about it. And this other one, I'm very excited to read. It's The Arena of the Unwell by Liam Konemann. It's a queer story about a guy who is really into the London music scene, and he meets someone, and I believe they started romantic relationship, and he's also dealing with mental illness and something about his treatment being cut off. I guess the government or someone paying for the treatment is getting cut off. I don't know how the healthcare system works there. And sort of dealing with that, and it just sounds super interesting because I'm very into music as well. So hopefully I'll get those soon and can start them. These next 4 are ones that I'm super excited about based on the descriptions, and we'll probably get an ebook, but I'm contemplating ordering, though some of them are still in hardcover only, so I'll just do ebooks. The first is Pure Color by Sheila Heti, and this I'm just going to read the description from this one because I don't know how to explain it at all. It just says, here we are just living in the first draft of creation, which was made by some great artist who is now getting ready to tear it apart. In this first draft of the world, a woman named Mira leaves home to study. There she meets Annie, whose tremendous power opens Mira's chest like a portal to what she doesn't know. When Mira is older, her beloved father dies and his spirit passes into her. Together they become a leaf on a tree, but photosynthesis gets boring and being alive is a problem that cannot be solved even by a leaf. Eventually, Mira must remember the human world she's left behind, including Annie, and choose whether or not to return. Sounds bonkers and incredible. This is, every time I read it, that description, it gets higher on my list. So I might read that soon. The next is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This one is about a woman's wife has gone on an undersea mission and then comes back and is different, and she's trying to figure out what's going on. I don't know if it's like a pod person kind of thing or if she's just been traumatized and is different because of that, but it feels like there's like a mystery about what happened under the sea. The sea and underwater stuff is terrifying, like who even knows what's down there. So this one sounds incredible. The next is Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel, and it involves time travel, and that's enough for me. Literary fiction about time travel, count me in. And the last in this section, which are the books that I'm most excited to read, is Tell Me I'm Worthless by Allison Rumfitt. I might order this one because it's about a girl and her friends who a few years ago stayed at some abandoned house, and since then her life has just sort of gone bad. The description describes it as spiraling, and so her and one of the friends goes back to the house, and it sounds like great. It sounds horror, or at least horror adjacent, which I'm into, and I'm excited to read this one for sure. All right, and then let's just quickly go through some more that I have read about and sound interesting. Lapvona by Ottessa Moshfegh. Seems like it's just a weird kind of fairy tale kind of thing set in medieval times, I believe. It sounds like it maybe has some like witchy vibes to it, which I'm into. The next is Young Mungo by Douglas Stuart. I, of course, heard about Shuggie Bain, which I believe won the Booker 2 years ago. And I didn't know that it was a queer story, first of all. I just thought it was like a coming-of-age book, which I was not that interested in. I still don't know of the two, this one, Young Mungo and Shuggie Bain, this one sounds more interesting to me, although a lot of people are saying that they're very similar, and if you've read one, you don't need to read the other. But a lot of people are also predicting that this will make the long list, so who knows. If I'm going to read one of them, I'll probably read this one. The next, There Are More Things, Yara Rodrigues Fowler. This one actually I've seen a lot of people talk about, and it's just kind of off the walls with some of the stuff that's in the book. There are instructions at the front of the book, which is odd. I actually read maybe 10 pages or so, and it's about these two girls, one who moves to London from Brazil, and they're living together, and I guess become friends, and then stuff happens. I don't know if I'm going to continue reading it or not, but it's made this list, so we'll see. The next is The Colony by Audrey Magee, which is about an isolated island in Ireland. I believe set in the past, and some people who visit or go to the island. I don't really know much more about it. Doesn't sound like something that's super interesting to me, but a lot of people are saying that it's good and will probably make the long list. The next is, I just put this on here because so many people are talking about it and so many are predicting that it will make the long list, which is To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. I can never say her name, so maybe I nailed it. I read A Little Life. It was fine. I don't have a ton of interest in reading more from her, which I think a lot of people would have an issue with me saying. I know a lot of people really love A Little Life, but for me, it was fine. But this is apparently 3 stories set in 1893, 1993, and 2093 in New York with some overlap or something. I don't really know, and I probably won't read it. If it makes a long list, maybe I'll give it a shot. I don't know. The next is The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. This is about a ghost that's haunting a bookstore, which sounds amazing. I don't know why I haven't read this yet. I also thought that it came out like 2 years ago, but apparently it came out this year. The next I put on this list is Either Or by Elif Batuman. This is about a college-age girl who feels like her life is like a novel, is what the description says. So I don't know if there's going to be like some fourth wall breaking going on, like some Breakfast of Champions stuff, or if it's just she is narcissistic and feels like her life is like a story. I don't know. He wrote The Idiot, which I know a lot of people really liked. I haven't read, but I have a feeling this one might make the long list. I haven't seen a lot of people mention it or bring it up or predict that it will, but I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say I think this one might make the long list. The next is, I don't know how to say this word, Shoet by Claire Ottessa. So this is about a woman who has an owl hybrid baby. I don't know. It sounds super weird. Maybe some magic realism or surrealism elements, which I am always here for. But it sounds interesting. Maybe Shoet is a word for a baby owl or something. I need to look up that word. So yeah, I also put that on the list. Hi, it's Ben from the future, and it is apparently pronounced Chouette, and it does in fact mean little owl. So, and the last one is called Cult Classic by Sloane Crosley. This one is about a woman who randomly runs into an ex and then keeps running into exes. Her ex-boss is now like some guru of like a cult or something, and she thinks that maybe he has something to do with it and all these exes coming up in her life, but she's not sure, so there's a mystery element. I'm into anything that's cult related. This doesn't sound like something that will make the long list or even be recognized or read by the judges, but it sounded super interesting to me, so I added it to the list and thought I would talk about it. One more, The Dolo Ride by Missouri Williams. Sounds super interesting. It's supposedly just really bonkers and out there, and it's about a post-apocalyptic sort of after we've ruined the earth, and there's this family in like the Appalachians or something who are like running everything. That might not be the best description, but it sounds really interesting, and I hope to read it soon. Okay, so that is the list of books that are eligible for the Booker that sound really interesting to me. I'm sure there are others that I just haven't read about yet or forgot about maybe. I realized that I kind of forgot to say which I think might make the list. So let's go with Trust, I think is going to make the list. Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies, I think is going to make the list. Pure Color, I think has a chance. Sea of Tranquility, I think has a chance. Lapvona, I think is going to make the list. Young Mungo, I think is going to make the list. The Colony, I think based on what people are saying about it, is going to make the list. I think To Paradise will make the list. I think Either Or will make the list. And that is all of the books that I mentioned that I think are likely to be on the long list. So, you're welcome. We'll see how well I do, I guess, on July 26th. So thank you for watching. Hopefully there are some books in here that sound interesting to you as well, and you'll find something more to read, because we all know we are only here on BookTube to find more books to add to our TBR. Okay, have a good day.